Speaking truth and power, unlocking minds, one day at a time, day at a time. Speaking truth and power, unlocking minds, one day at a time, day at a time. Truth of the matter is that truth really matters, yeah. Truth of the matter is that truth really matters, yeah. In the beginning, I was back and forth like Batman, lacking wisdom, no direction for proper decisions. I heard my bro had a show, so I started to listen. Truth of the matter, ain't no comparing the competition. The kid feeling blessed, cause it's clear as Windex. After talking with Dex, I know just where to step. I know the pack gon' be narrow, but my eyes on the sparrow. And the truth of the matter is that truth really matters. Truth of the matter, that truth really matters. Hey, truth of the matter.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? We are back. Welcome to Truth of the Matter. I want to say thank you all for joining us. Thank you all for just rocking along with us on this new platform. Still working out a few of the kinks, but nevertheless, appreciate your support. And so listen, this is National Preparation Month. I know that it seems like every month has something special affixed to it. And nevertheless, September is just like every other month. You know, there's something to go along with this month. And so over the past couple of weeks, I actually even started this in the end of August. We've been talking about preparation to some degree, some capacity. And we talked about the mental side, addressing your mental needs, your spiritual needs, getting that clarity. We talked about health, some things that we can incorporate as far as, taking care of our health, making sure that, we're optimized, our body is optimized. We even talked about finances. And then about 2 weeks ago, I had the master prepper himself, Dexter Peggins Sr. on here. And then we were talking about some practical keys for preparation. And so I figured why not kind of continue along that same line, but let's get a little bit deeper. And so we're going to talk about preparing from the standpoint of how do we reach our boys. At the end of the day, if we're not making the impact on our next generation, then we're missing the whole point of this whole thing. At the end of the day, there are people literally going through life who need some direction, who need help. And oftentimes we put it off as not being our responsibility. But then simultaneously, we wonder why society is the way that it is. And I believe that in large part is our inactivity, is our unwillingness to be the difference that's leading to a lot of the frustrations that we see. And so I wanted to bring on a very special guest. Some people know him as Ernest Gaines. I call him James. And so that's what we're going to go with tonight. But listen, this brother right here is a powerful man, an awesome asset to our community. And I wanted to bring him on just to share some insights about how do we reach our boys, And listen, for the women out there, this is not something that we want you all to dismiss because we're talking about boys. I believe what we're going to talk about tonight is applicable to the young ladies as well. So please stick with the conversation on the night. But nevertheless, Brother James, how are we doing tonight, sir?
Good evening. Thank you for inviting me to come out here. I really appreciate it. And having this opportunity to speak to people who I probably will never be able to reach unless a platform like this existed. I just wanted to say thank you for that.
Oh, no problem. Hey, James, do me a quick favor, man. Why, for the people who don't know you, I know you very, very well, and I think we might be able to talk about that to some degree tonight. But tell the people a little something about yourself.
Okay, I am trying to make this thing go off to the computer. No, that didn't work. There. Well, my name is James Gaines. I am retired from the United States Army. I'm very passionate about the thing that I have taken on, mentoring young men and women here in the CSRA. It has become a passion for me because when I grew up, I didn't have my dad, and there were 10 of us, 7 boys, 3 girls.
Wow.
But my brothers were out doing the things that they do. My sisters were, they really couldn't impart to me the things that I needed to learn and experience. My dad was out doing what dads were doing in those days. And so I learned a lot of the things that I learned from the television and from my lying friends who told me things that I found out later that just were not true. And so I didn't want anybody else to have to grow up in that dynamic. And so I made it my point to try and reach anybody who would listen so that they could avoid some of the pitfalls that I found myself in. And so that they could feel like they had a resource or an asset that they could reach out to anytime that they needed it. And this is why I do what I do. I am happy to do what I do at no cost. There's a small price to pay. And the way I get paid is by seeing the success of young men and young women moving from a place where they're uncertain or not sure to a place where they can feel more confident about who they're becoming. And so that's who I am in a nutshell.
Yeah, I appreciate that, James. And so listen, I got none other than James Gaines, mentor extraordinaire. And so earlier today, he and I were linking up. We had some business to take care of, and it just so happened I actually caught you in the act of mentoring. I had a chance to meet one of your mentees, and the conversation was really interesting. At least where I came in the conversation. And so, excuse me for the technical difficulties. Somebody's calling right now. But anyhow, where we picked up in the conversation with the young man, in hearing how you all interacted with one another, I said, I need to get James on the show, and we need to talk along the lines of what does it take to reach our boys? Because I saw something within you all's interaction with each other, and also in hearing the backstory with this young man that I really believe speaks to the heart of a lot of single mothers, to a lot of young men who are really trying to find their place in the world. And so one of the things that I was seeing in that conversation and in hearing and picking up was here you had a mother who loves her son, but she didn't have the language for where he was at in his journey of manhood. And he was at a critical juncture in his life. In that critical juncture, because he did not have those influences of a good man as an example, he was making some very traumatic decisions. And so let me ask you this, James, for people who might be interested in mentorship, what would you say the importance of mentoring is, especially for those young men who may not have a father example in the home?
Well, I can say that very simply and very directly to anybody who's listening. These young people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. Mm. It is important to make the type of connection with them that says, I'm not checking a box. I'm not here for a promotion. I'm not trying to advance a cause that you have nothing to do with. What they want to know is that they can reach out and touch you when they need you, that you're going to be available to them. I mean, I'm not saying that you don't have your own life, your own responsibilities, all of those things. But I'm simply saying that when you connect with these children, with these young men in the becoming stage, with these young women that are becoming, it is vitally important to know that it's not just a 9 to 5. It's like you take them on to be your own children. You have to treat them like you're going to have to give an account to God someday. And so I make sure that all of them know how to access me when they need me. There are times when I have to reprioritize things because when emergencies come up, that's what they want to know, is that they can count on you. A lot of people have walked out of their lives. A lot of people have failed them. A lot of times they've made decisions based on some of the things that they've experienced as young people. And we can't really, I don't give them too much of a pass as I do an opportunity to rethink some things from a different perspective. And so sometimes when you come in, you have to know that they are coming from a way different place than you and I may have grown up. It's important to try and reach them where they are. You can't expect them to be one way. You can't try and pigeon-toe them into some kind of a hole that you've already made, that you think that this is where they all fit in. It's important to know that this is a lifetime. I have some mentees that I've been mentoring since they were teenagers, and now they're well adults. Some of them have children of their own. It's not like you let go when they come to me. I let them know, you're going to be like my own son or my own daughter. And so there are some things that you may not like. We're going to fall out at times. It's okay. We just regroup and come back again when we get past whatever it was that was an infraction. And I really want to develop a relationship with them. And I encourage you who are thinking about becoming mentors to develop a relationship with them that speaks to the fact that they're becoming doctors and lawyers. They're becoming politicians. They're becoming so much that you cannot see because it's muttered by who they think they are. They're trying to find themselves, but they're becoming whoever God created them to be. And what they need from you is your leadership and your guidance. So if I could say anything to you about your interest or desire to be a mentor, it's a journey. It's rewarding. And sometimes it's quite damning, because there are times and occasions when you feel like you just want to reach out and touch them. The Bible said something about laying hands on them. But when I'm angry like that, the Bible never said it had to be an open hand. You know what I'm saying? So sometimes you get those feelings, and you just remember that, one day you have to give an account to God. So you treat them just like they're God's property.
Well, we'll talk more offline after this conversation. But one of the things I appreciate, first and foremost, you spoke about consistency. You open up by saying that, they don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And one of the things that I thought was really powerful on today was, the interaction with this young man, it was not gentle as we understand being gentle. It was very direct, it was in your face, but it was necessary. And but the thing is that you can tell that the young man received it because he already understands how much you cared about him. And so it wasn't forceful from the standpoint of, you're a screw up, but listen, you're making mistakes that is getting ready to derail your future, your potential. And I believe because you have already established that relationship with him, he knows how much you care. You've demonstrated consistency. He was receptive of the instruction that you were providing in that moment, no matter how direct it was, no matter how blunt it was. I think one of the challenges, that I've heard in a number of circles is that people oftentimes they want to identify what they deem to be the problem in the individual without first getting to know the individual. Pull up your pants and all of this other stuff, but you don't know that person. You're not taking the time. And then the first thing you'll say is, well, this generation is jacked up. And the reality is that, we're not too far off from how, when we were younger, from how this generation was acting. I think one of the things, and I had the opportunity to speak with this young man, one of the things that was beneficial for me is that, like I said, at certain junctures in my life, I had people who could speak to my potential. Even though I was screwing up, nobody, I didn't foresee where I would be at this point in my life, but they will always give me a lifeline. And that lifeline always came by words of encouragement. So let me ask you this, for those, once again, who might be interested in becoming mentors, and maybe, they don't have the title of mentor, but they do want to make a difference. What are some practical things that they can do to cut down on that gap and to influence, make a positive influence in the lives of our young people?
I'm glad you asked that. one of the key things, the key components in being a great mentor is having a relationship with God. Now, I'm not trying to preach religion, but I'm telling you, there are times and occasions when you're going to spend some quality time in God's presence, crying out for these young people, because there are some things you simply cannot fix. There are some things you will not understand. And there are some things that drive you to a point where you just want to impale them. But, in prayer, God begins to reveal some things. I'm a licensed Christian counselor. I've been, doing counseling before any of these certificates or degrees or anything came along. I was doing it because I just bathed what I do in prayer. And so I began to speak to the Lord about what it is, the frustrations or the disappointments or whatever that I was feeling. And then God begins to reveal to you how you can reach one. Every one of them is different. So you can't use some cookie cutter method in trying to reach them. But I'm telling you the truth when I say to you that God will reveal to you how to reach each one of them on the level that they are. And so that's what I do. I listen closely to what the Lord has to say about the matter. And I take one-on-one.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to humiliate or embarrass anybody. So I'd give them one-on-one. And we begin to talk and cultivate relationship. God gives me instruction and direction. And we go, in a space where they are receptive because they feel what it is you're trying to. They don't always want to hear it. It's true. I've been turned off so many times by kids who pick up the telephone while I'm talking, pick up their telephone and do that stuff, or who will look off into space and you know that they're tuning you out. But when I'm speaking into their spirit, and the solical man will begin to identify these words that are not from one human to another, but coming from my heart to theirs. And they are receptive to those things. It's not always the case. It takes a little while. But if you are really interested, have a desire to be a mentor, I would suggest very strongly that you have a relationship with God, because the truth is you're going to need it.
Hey, James, we're going to hold that point right there. We're going to take a quick commercial break and we'll be right back.
There is a prevailing crisis that has crippled families and communities for decades. This crisis has a direct association to higher crime rates, increased poverty, and cost the nation millions of dollars annually. The crisis is the epidemic of fatherlessness. What would the world look like if fathers were not only physically present, but emotionally available as well? What would the conversation between the repentant father and the dejected son sound like? Recognizing that sons, both young and old, need to hear a heart of a father serves as the motivation for this literary work. This book is for those who need wisdom and guidance, never had those necessary moments with their father, or wish they had more moments with their father. Through the affirmation of a father's love, this book will traverse the difficult path from disappointment to hope, and from alienation to reconciliation.
And so we are back with none other than Mr. James Gaines, awesome mentor in our community, a real asset, and I would say a tremendous lifeline to a number of our young people within the community. Oddly enough, James, you and I actually met while serving on the board for the Youth Detention Center, being both mentors and volunteers in the prison. That became the grounds in which we started our relationship. And I think the interesting thing is that oftentimes in the prison, you see the worst, but there's also always a glimmer of hope because you want to believe in the potential of that young person that you're talking to. And so let me ask you this. Is there anything that you see in this generation that concerns you, but also what gives you hope about this generation that we see coming up right now?
Well, this pandemic has caused a lot of people to act a little more aggressively than they would normally, having been isolated away from their family and friends, coming back out here. They use the term with the young people, wilding out. So the young people, sometimes they wild out when they get back into society, and they go, way overboard, it would appear. Some of the things that I see that's challenging for them is, in my lifetime, I've never had any kind of a pandemic like this, not a worldwide one anyway. The inequality that Black people experience is brought to the forefront. And so having that in your face every day, I mean, in such a phenomenal way, like it's on the television, it's on the Facebook, it's on just every media source that you can think of, it's in your face. And so I am concerned that the response to some of these inequalities, some of these injustices may cause them to feel like they have to meet power with power, fury with fury. And some of them don't want to speak truth to power because they don't want some of the repercussions that come along with being able to stand up and speak out. Windows bust out, lives destroyed because people know how to be internet hackers and these kinds of things. And so there are a lot of challenges that face these young people. And so a lot of times I have to take that in consideration before I say anything that is going to add to the problem and not the solution. So they have a very difficult challenge, not that lies ahead, but they're currently experiencing right now. And so it's incumbent upon us to be sensitive enough to hear how they are seeing it, not somebody else's outtake or somebody else's outlook on it, but hear what they have to say about it, to listen to them. They want to be heard. They want to be valued. They want to be included. And so that's a challenge now, because unfortunately, we have a commander-in-chief who has taken a rather poignant stance when it comes to how he feels about minorities. And he vocalizes it a lot when he does his interviews and when he does those childish tweets and things along those lines. We've got young people that really have a difficulty when it comes to identifying who they are and what they stand for. We just have to be a little patient with them. And when it comes to leading and guiding and steering, don't push too hard, but don't be too soft either. That's measured responses to some of the issues would help them to understand that you're not trying to think for them or suppose that you know how they feel. Even if it's commonsensical, I listen to every word. I watch their body language. I try and reach them just where they are. That's the challenge that they have, is that they need to find somebody who cares enough to listen and to respect how they feel, not to try and force your ideology on them. They need that. If you're thinking about becoming a mentor, if you're thinking about, no, that's my fault, I apologize. If you're thinking about becoming a mentor, so, there. Okay. If you're thinking about becoming a mentor, just know that this is a challenge that you just can't foresee some of the things that you'll experience. The calls that you get in the late night hour that say, hey, I need a ride. The person who was supposed to, take me home is drunk or wants to make some stops off and drop off some things that I don't want to be a part of. You have to be prepared for the times and occasions when it's, I want to talk. And they'll talk to you about things they won't even talk to their parents about. They'll talk to you about things that they're trusting you to keep close to the vest. And so the moment they find out that they cannot trust you, or the moment they get a suspicion that you have broken their confidentiality, then you start back from ground zero. I'm not saying that it's impossible, I'm just saying it's really hard to try and get one of them to regain one of their trust, because that's a pivotal age.
One thing that I believe wholeheartedly, I believe that this current generation is probably one of the most gifted generations, probably of our lifetime for sure. But along with that, I believe that they are probably one of the most, they experience a lot of, for lack of better words, spiritual warfare, or a lot of stuff is thrown at this generation very early to derail them from realizing their fullest potential. I was thinking, some time ago that, man, if I had social media when I was a teenager, it'd be a done deal, and then you got to understand that psychologically, your peer pressure is huge. You still, very much want to be popular. You want to, be liked by everybody. And literally you have voices that will never meet you, from across the country who can say, who can harass you, bully you. And the next thing you know, you're dealing with issues of rejection, self-esteem. And then, the conversation maybe about suicide and depression and all of these other things start to set in. And you're not even 16 yet, And so as a mentor, I appreciate the fact that you take the approach that you do by incorporating the whole person, seeing where they're at, and then seeing where they're at, trying to understand, where they're coming from in life, and then making that connection from there, and becoming that resource. You open up by saying that I am a resource. And I think one of the challenges as it relates to mentorship is we don't always consider the full cost. We like the concept of, talking to young people and, saying, hey, I did this. And listen, there's nothing wrong with that. But when you're opening yourself up, when you're availing yourself to be a mentor, you're also availing yourself to have some difficult conversations. I think for me, when I first started, one of the difficult things for me was saying, man, this is something you should be talking to your parents about. But I think it speaks volumes that they're willing to dialogue with you, because maybe they've attempted to talk to their parents before, but the parents weren't receptive, nor were they probably weren't equipped to have that conversation. And that leads me back to what we were talking about when we opened up, in hearing the voice of the mother. It doesn't mean that the mother is not capable. It doesn't mean that mom is not a good mom. Mom is a great mom, but her son, at where he's at in life, he is struggling with the concept of becoming a man. And I was humbled by the fact that, there were men who were there speaking into his life. And once again, he was receptive to hearing it. And so I'm going to ask you this question, then we'll get ready to wrap it up. But you're growing up without a father. You said that led you to get into mentoring. What are some of the things that you have seen, most extreme things that you've seen since becoming a mentor? And I guess what are some examples of things that you have seen that keep you in this fight?
Well, I don't know what platform, how many people this platform will reach. And so I'm going to take a chance and be vulnerable. I love the Lord, but I cuss a little bit. And so when I'm trying to connect with them, I talk to them in a language that they understand. Yeah. They are receptive because I'm not fake and I'm not phony and I will not hold back. And they understand that and they can sense that love. Some of the dynamics that we experience today, my concentration is in abuse. And so the sexual abuse, the mental abuse, the physical abuse, the social abuse, those are all real things to young people who are trying to find themselves. And so it's it's a little outrageous sometimes when you're trying to reach somebody who has that in the back of their mind and they don't know how to formulate that or put it into words that make them still look like who they want you to see them as. And so a lot of times I see things and I don't see them.
Yeah.
That means that there's a time and a place for everything under the sun. And so some conversations, though they might be very apparent, they don't need to be had until that person's comfortable enough to want to have that conversation. And so I've learned how to bridle my tongue. There are those who, you're trying to reach, and they have other struggles. And so it's just important as a mentor to know that you're reaching a generation who have decided they want to dismiss God. Why? Because we have so many fallen preachers and deacons and teachers and so forth. And the social media has publicized it. And they really make a consecrated effort in trying to tear the fabric of religion out of our culture. It's important to let them know that it's all right to pray. Now, again, I told you one of my shortfalls, but I still pray with them.
Yeah.
I'll still lay hands on them in the midnight hour when they're asleep, comfortable in their bed, having cussed me out real good. I'm still calling their name out before the Lord because I realize it's not them per se, but the spirit that really wants them to, go in one direction or to feel a certain way. And so I do great spiritual battle when they're not around, so that when they are around, it's easier to forgive them, because I know that it's not really you. And I try not to take any of this personal, this is my profession, but I separate it so that I'm still able to function and be productive in my life and, do the things that personally I want to do and accomplish. I don't put me as a second fiddle. I make sure I take care of my own mental health, so that I'm good enough to be able to, as they say in the airplanes, put their mask on when the time comes. I think it's important to know who you are as a mentor so that you're able to reach them. It's a struggle because they have challenges that are so great. I think you may have an idea of what some of those might be, but when you are down at the grassroots level and you're walking through some of the challenges with them, you might want to go and tell a parent, hey, you shouldn't be selling that, or you shouldn't be doing that, or, this, that, or the other. But the time might not be, the best, or you have to be very sensitive to the spirit of the living God who will lead and guide you if you're receptive to him. And so that's kind of how I operate. And those are the things that I see as a challenge for our young people. But they're not so great that we cannot combat them if we work together. This mentorship that we're involved in, it's really, it takes a village. So if you're out there and in your heart of hearts, you feel like you want to become a mentor, I would like to help you. I'd like to be a resource to you. And I'm speaking to you very directly. If you have said at any time that what you want to do is become a mentor and you are looking for a sign, this is your sign. Let me help you to impact our future. Soon we'll be old, and it'll be them out there who are making decisions that impact our lives, our healthcare, our Social Security, all those things. So we might as well take this time to pour into them now while they're young, open, tender vessels. And perhaps the Lord might give you an opportunity to see something great in them. Mm-hmm. Sometimes the greatest thing is just the change, seeing the change, being a part of the change.
James, man, that was an awesome segue. And so I'll close on this note. If you are watching this via social media, you'll probably see a ticker going across the bottom of your screen. And the website is www.core-csra.org. That is an organization that, along with James and Cortez Hankerson and myself, we all work together, and we provide mentorship for at-risk youth and returning juvenile offenders in the CSRA. And so James put out a very strong, very passionate plea for those who are interested in becoming mentors to make the connection. And would you have it that James is actually our director of recruitment and volunteer. And so he is the guy. He has a heart for this. And not only does he have a heart for it, he has the insight and the know-how to develop volunteers to really make that impact in the lives of our young people. Oftentimes people want to do it, James, but they don't know how to get started. And so I appreciate you putting it out there. And I'll be the first to say this, James, as well as Cortez, who is our associate director. Those guys, they are the backbone of the organization. And I am honored to have the privilege of working with you guys as the executive director of the organization. So we are endeavoring to do a big task here in the CSRA. But I trust those guys, and I know that as more people come, we can really start to see a very significant change in the CSRA. And so, James, we're getting ready to close out, but is there anything else you might want to share before we wrap this up?
I just want to say to those out there who are hurting, who are wounded, who are weary, don't give up. I know it seems like this world is topsy-turvy, and perhaps it is. But I want to speak to you. I want to encourage you to keep on keeping on. Do not give in to the wiles of the enemy. Prayer changes things. It changes people. It changes circumstances and situations. I'm going to encourage you to remain prayerful as we are endeavoring to elect a new president, Joe Biden, and Vice President Kamala Harris. As we see this change unfold, we know that we have our challenges ahead of us. Our young people's lives weigh in the balance. So if there's anything that you feel like you can do to make a difference, let it all begin with prayer.
All right. Well, hey, with that being said, you all, this is Truth of the Matter. Our guest was Mr. James Gaines. I want to say thank him once again for participating, being our guest on tonight, sharing the wealth of wisdom, speaking on the necessity of mentorship, especially as it relates to reaching our youth, reaching our boys. I'm your host, Dexter Pagans, and until next time, peace.
Speaking truth and power, unlocking minds, one day at a time, day at a time. Speaking truth and power, unlocking minds, one day at a time, day at a time. Truth of the matter is that truth really matters, yeah. Truth of the matter is that truth really matters, yeah. In the beginning, I was back and forth like badminton, lacking wisdom, no direction for proper decisions. I heard my bro had a show, so I started to listen. Truth of the matter, ain't no comparing the competition. The kid feeling blessed, cause it's clear as when Dex. After talking with Dex, I know just where to step. I know the pack gon' be narrow, but my eyes on the sparrow. And the truth of the matter is that truth